In a sudden coup, Niger soldiers have claimed to overthrow President Mohamed Bazoum's government. This was announced by a group of soldiers who appeared on Niger's national television hours after the president was taken hostage inside the presidential palace. Currently, Niger's borders are closed. Curfew has been declared and all state institutions have been suspended as well. President Bazoum said that the National Army shall be ordered to move in if the rebels do not come to their senses. Bazoum supporters demonstrated outside the National Assembly in the capital and called for the president's release. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu met the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on a rare visit to the isolated country. The event marks the anniversary of what North Korea claims as a victory in the Korean War. Shoigu handed the Korean leader a letter from the Russian President Vladimir Putin. During the meeting, Moscow and Pyongyang pledged to boost strategic and traditional ties. Both the nations also reached a consensus on matters of mutual concern in the fields of national defense and regional security. Two former U.S. Navy fighter pilots and a former intelligence officer testified on the unidentified anomalous phenomena before a congressional committee. The pilots testified their experiences on witnessing UAPs, also known as UFOs. They called on the U.S. government to be more transparent about UFOs and warned that these unidentified objects are a national security threat to the country. The House Oversight and Accountability Committee held the hearing with both Republican and Democratic lawmakers. The committee expressed concerns over UFOs and the fear of pilots to report them. Fresh instances of arson were reported from violence hit Manipur. On Wednesday, a mob set at least 30 homes and shops ablaze in Manipur's More district. This included a forest department guest house as well. The arson took place in More Bazaar area, which is close to the Myanmar border. The officials say a gun battle took place following the arson. The security forces intervened and dispersed the mob before the situation could worsen in the area. This comes a day after two buses used by security forces were set on fire by a mob. 9 people, including a minor, were arrested in connection with the incident on torching the buses. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met New Zealand's Prime Minister Chris Hipkins in Wellington. Blinken received a traditional Maori Pauhiri welcome at New Zealand's Parliament. The visit comes as Australia and New Zealand expressed concerns about a new policing agreement between China and the Solomon Islands. The Chinese agreement could potentially undermine the Pacific's agreed regional security norms. Taiwan's military conducted anti-amphibious landing drills on a beach near Taipei. The drill simulated a Chinese attack on the island. The exercise is a part of Taiwan's week-long massive war games as Beijing ramps up military and political pressures on the island. Thousands of teachers took to the streets of Chile demanding that their salaries be paid. Dozens of schools suspended classes for a day after the demonstrations began. The teachers are demanding a liability payment derived from a reform approved under the military government. Teachers also demand to have a better work environment and equal economic bonuses for all the teachers. College teachers have announced that if the government does not respond in a week, they shall also go on protest. Rescuers are racing against time to save 8 people trapped in an illegal gold mine in Indonesia. The miners were digging inside a 60-meter deep hole in central Java on Tuesday evening when water suddenly flooded the illegal mine. Unlicensed mines are common across mineral-rich Indonesia, and the accidents are frequent in such unregulated sites. If attempts to draw the water out of the mine fails, divers would be sent in to look for the miners. The unrest escalates again in Peru after protests continue to rage on. Dozens of demonstrators clashed with the riot police outside the Peruvian Congress in Lima. The protests come after an alliance of left-wing and right-wing parties was elected to lead the Congress in the next legislature. The Peruvian police fired tear gas and charged a group of protesters to disperse the crowds.
Alejandro Soto Reyes como presidente.
Russia is hosting various African leaders for a Russia-Africa summit in St. Petersburg. Putin is scheduled to have a working lunch with the African leaders and discuss the situation in Ukraine as well. The Kremlin said that 49 African countries have confirmed their participation at the summit. Putin is expected to make a big statement that will address the issue of food, fertilizers and energy resources. The summit follows the first grouping that was held in 2019 in southern Russia's Sochi. A cargo ship carrying 3,000 ships on board has caught fire off the coast of the Netherlands. The cargo aboard the vessel includes electric vehicles, and the Dutch Coast Guard suspects that they caught fire. One person died and several others suffered injuries from the incident. At least 7 jumped overboard and the rest were airlifted by the helicopter. All 23 crew members were evacuated from the ship by the Coast Guard. The authorities worry that the fire could burn for days and has the potential to damage the ecological sensitive islands in the area. US and the Australian forces are carrying out a massive joint exercise called TALISMAN SABRE. The annual joint effort involves naval exercises in the Indian Ocean and field exercises at the military bases throughout Australia, that is. The video of a US Osprey aircraft landing on the deck of the Australian naval ship HMS Adelaide has recently surfaced, along with other videos showing various forces releasing and controlling drones during an operation in Queensland. The police in Haiti have evicted dozens of families who took shelter in front of the US Embassy gates. The crowd gathered after fleeing their homes due to gang violence and heavy gunfighting in Haiti's capital. According to the UN, the gangs control almost 80% of the capital and have forced more than 165,000 people to flee their homes. The gangs have grown more powerful after the president's assassination in July 2021. Palestinian youth burned tires during a rally against Israel storming Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The young men were spotted chanting that Israel's provocations and marches shall not go unnoticed. The first man to visit every country without flying has made it back home to Denmark. Ton John Pedersen started his journey in 2013 aboard a Maersk container ship and visited 203 countries in a decade. He also visited Maldives, which was the last country on his list, in May. Now, despite a 2-year break due to the COVID-19 pandemic, he continued his journey after lockdown restrictions lifted globally. He's also commonly referred to as Thor by the Danish. That's because he travelled by train, bus, boat and even on foot to complete his voyage. The build-up to the Paris Olympics now enters its final year. The countdown clock installed at the foot of the Eiffel Tower in Paris marks 1 year to go until the 2024 Games. Marking the occasion, International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach said that the preparations were well on track. The event follows the unveiling of the Eiffel Tower-inspired torch for the Games. The Mega Millions lottery in the US is approaching the valuation of a staggering $1 billion. The jackpot is now at $910 million after 28 consecutive drawings without a big winner. Now, millions of Americans are lining up at convenience stores and gas stations counters hoping to crack the lottery. The one-time cash prize is at $464 million. The last winner won $20 million in the month of April. The current jackpot is slated to be the 5th highest in Mega Millions history. The highest jackpot was more than $1.5 billion in 2018. Typhoon Doksuri has killed 5 people in the Philippines and is lashing towards Taiwan. Taiwan shut several businesses and schools. The airlines cancelled hundreds of flights amid warnings of landslides and floods. Doksuri was a super typhoon earlier but lost some of its strength after hitting Philippines' coast. The Portuguese firefighters scrambled to put out flames sweeping across a natural park. Strong winds are complicating efforts to tackle the blaze. A video posted on social media showed large plumes of dark smoke covering the sky in the region. More than 600 firefighters were brought in after the fire erupted. Water-bombing planes and helicopters also battled the blaze. Wildfires continue to spread across central Greece and destroyed farms and factories. Uncleared land and trees helped the fire reach the area. The residents claim that the calamity was brought on by lack of public authority. The fire brigade said that over 61 wildfires erupted in the last 24 hours across Greece. The officials ordered the evacuation of several communities in the hard-hit area of Greece. Three people have been killed in Greece's Rhodes Island wildfire, yet there is no end to it in sight, basically. The firefighters continue to battle on several fronts to contain the blazes. More than 30,000 foreign visitors and locals have fled their homes and seaside hotels over the weekend. This is being called as one of the worst wildfires Greece has ever seen. The most recent country to be hit by wildfire is Turkey. As the efforts to contain the fire continue, water-dropping planes, helicopters and firefighters were deployed to fight the blazes that broke out in a forest in Istanbul. where temperatures soared to 43 degrees Celsius. Turkey's largest city was experiencing one of the hottest days of the season. In a major step for the cryptocurrency industry, a key congressional committee in the US has approved a bipartisan bill aimed at establishing a regulatory framework for digital assets. The bill would clarify whether a cryptocurrency is considered a security or a commodity and expand oversight by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission. While some Democrats oppose the bill, its passage in the House Financial Services Committee, it marks a victory for crypto advocates seeking regulatory clarity. The U.S. economy is predicted to avoid a recession. This is according to the latest estimates by the Congressional Budget Office. Despite higher interest rates and a pickup in unemployment impacting consumers, GDP is expected to rise steadily from a 0.4% annual rate in the second half of this year. Inflation is also predicted to cool down through 2025. Resilient labor markets and a strong services sector have contributed to the economy's expansion. Lockheed Martin has been granted a contract by the U.S. Department of Defense to pioneer a nuclear-powered spacecraft for exploration and national defense. The project aims to replace traditional chemical propulsion with nuclear thermal propulsion, enabling faster transit times and also reducing radiation exposure for human missions to Mars. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency awarded Lockheed this contract under the project named Draco, with in-space flight demonstrations set to take place by 2027. Morgan Stanley downgraded Israel's sovereign credit risk profile after the country's parliament passed the first in a series of laws sought by Prime Minister Netanyahu to limit the power of the Supreme Court in the country. The research and the investor advisory firm said that it saw increased uncertainty about the economic outlook in the coming months and risks becoming skewed to its adverse scenario. Snap Inc., the owner of the popular photo messaging app Snapchat, is facing a fierce battle for ads dollars as it struggles to keep up with tech giants in the industry. Despite attracting hundreds of millions of users with its light-hearted photo filters and AI-powered chatbot, the company has been grappling with revenue growth and market competition, prompting questions from experts and investors about its future strategy. In their latest earnings report, Snapchat provided weaker guidance for the third quarter than what experts had expected, causing a significant 18% drop in its shares during after-market trading. While the company defeated revenue and user estimates for the second quarter, concerns are rising that the ad money is shifting towards larger social media networks, leaving Snap with challenges in the constrained economic environment. A potential catastrophe in the package delivery world has been averted as UPS reaches a groundbreaking agreement with its 340,000-person union after intense negotiations. UPS and the Teamsters have put their differences aside and sealed a historical deal. The 5-year contract promises better pay and benefits for both full and part-time workers, with hourly wages set to increase significantly. Part-time workers, who make up a large portion of UPS employees, will see their starting pay jump to $21 per hour from the previous $16.20. Moreover, UPS will create 7,500 full-time jobs and fill 22,500 open positions, allowing more part-time workers to transition to full-time roles. This monumental agreement sets a new standard in the labor movement.